Yes, Mr. Chairman, what I did is I took the liberty to put together a draft discussion of the ordinance based on the highlighted areas that I think we had talked about at your last meeting. And then because of the power outage, we weren't able to have any of the detailed information that Select Board Member Danlick had sent to me. So what I did is I incorporated the thoughts that I had under definitions on intersection. And then from what I could gather, the performance standards, we sort of highlighted the distance at street intersections of 200 feet. And Select Board Member Danlick came up with a suggestion. And then I received information from Select Board Member Dubois, which he, I think, essentially modified what Tom had sent to make it a little less wordy, I guess it would be the word that I would use there. But it looks like he left the first part of that out. So I don't know if there were any other things that we really wanted to talk about in terms of it. But from what I remember, the intersection seemed to be something that was when Mr. Burgess was here, he talked about intersections and he was trying to cup intersections to private roads, roads that didn't intersect with each other but were close by, things along that way in the hopes that he was trying to make an argument for everybody to meet that 200-foot standard. So what I did is I just took an intersection definition that appears in traffic engineering information where it just says the area where two or more public streets join across at grade. So in other words, I wanted to make sure that it indicated public streets and not private ways, driveways, or anything to that, and then that they cross at grade. So we would be talking about like at Campground Road, Log Cabin Road, Route 1, those types of intersections, I think is what the ordinance would be referring to, or at least that's the way I interpreted it even before we had the definition there. And then under performance standards, I think the suggestion that was made by both members, I think Tom was a little bit more, had some more detail in there, but provided a chance to get away from a clear definition that if it wasn't 200 feet, you couldn't be there, or you'd have to be in a situation where that food truck was away from that 200-foot intersection. But now with this language, it says, provided, however, the select board may, upon the request of an applicant, reduce the performance standard upon submissions to the board of sufficient substantive evidence that the proposed reduction shall not affect the safety concerns promoted by the listed performance standard. To me, that means, and I'm sure that Tom can weigh in, to me, that means is that if somebody wants to waive that, they can request the waiver of the 200-foot, but then provide us information from a credible party, which would be perhaps the state in their entrance permit application and the criteria they use there, or they hire themselves a traffic engineer to provide information to you so you can make a determination whether or not you think you can waive the standard. And I think what Dan did, it was just, unless submissions to the board of sufficient substantive evidence that the proposed reduction shall not affect the safety concerns promoted by the listed performance standards. So he changed it a little bit, but I think in essence, he's trying to say the same thing that Tom said. And those were the changes that I really recall that we had at your last board meeting. If I missed anything, obviously this is a great time to discuss it.
As far as intersections are concerned, have some private ways, like Cottage Road is a private road that intersects with Route 1. That's probably a decent public boundaries for our. It's probably got some pretty heavy traffic. The number of folks that are there. And then I think there's an Enterprise Drive too that supports them. And the commercial subdivision. I'm concerned that those are essentially the same as a public way in terms of traffic.
Yeah.
You want to limit the.
Do we really want to limit the definition?
Just.
Yep.
That's the purpose of the public way.
So would it be, do you think leaving the intersection definition in there would be a good thing to do? And if we do, would it be more appropriate to say the area where two or more streets join across at grade?
Well, again, either that or maybe what we do is, I don't think we want to, if somebody's got a private drive, that's probably not a great concern of two households or something.
Correct.
Traffic impact there. Just wonder, you have 200 plus units being serviced by a road, or 5, 10 lots being serviced by a road intersecting with a public way. Whether we ought to consider those private ways still.
Sure.
Under definition, like lot serves that supposed to private drive. Big traffic concern, safety, generally, primarily.
I think so too. Yeah.
I don't think we want food trucks setting up right next to whatever roadway you're going. Driving out and turning into this food court for this food truck.
Right.
I can see that being, especially right there. I guess we're going to have a good lane. I can get a little.
Right, and potentially you're going to have a disc golf facility across the street from that, where, there could be room for a food truck in there as well. Yeah, I see your point.
I just don't want to, that's just me. I just want to help but I don't want to
for private ways serving 10 or more units, serving 20 or more units.
Yeah, say something to that effect.
My street, yeah, and there's room, it's got 7 now, got room for 3 more, there'll be 10 lots.
Yeah.
That's a fair amount of traffic. So we came up with a number of available space to be used. 5 more, 7 more.
I'm up for any number that you think is appropriate. I don't know if we have within the ordinance, if we have some sort of standard that's already laid out there. I don't recall. How about the street design and construction ordinance? I can go grab one.
Just said 10 because that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the cottages.
Yeah. It had something, I think, didn't this, some standard comes up with trips, how many trips per day, something like that, I think.
Trip generation manual, yeah. 82.
Okay. Okay. Right.
We do break it down into arterial street, collector street.
But those are all public.
Right.
More than 10, how is that worded, lots or units? More than 10 units?
Private way serving, providing legal access to more than 10 residential lot. I guess you could say 10 lots, period. Residential.
A private way serving legal access to
10, more than 10 lots.
more than 10 lots.
10 units. Yeah.
Should we mention in those 10 lots or whatever we come up with for a number? Certain commercial lots on that private street to generate a fair amount of traffic. You know, if someone puts a convenience store on a private way, they may not, but that would generate quite a bit of traffic.
Like a managed campground private.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a lot of vehicles.
Was that?
That's campground.
Right.
Private way.
Yeah. So as I'm hearing you, I think out of the definition that I put there, public's definitely going to be taken out.
I think you can talk, four more public streets, just like that, four.
And then, yeah, private way
Private ways serving
serving more than 10 residential lots. Or
Units.
20, yeah, or yeah.
Yeah.
20 vehicles or whatever.
More than 10 residential lots / units.
Still said it. Fine, residential.
Okay, 10 lots / units. Okay.
Yeah, too many, I don't know.
And somebody gets on one or more of those 10 lots and creates a lot of traffic. Does that give this board still the option of saying, no, you can't have it? Or we tied to that? With the 10 lots or whatever they are.
I guess our way to get around that, somebody that circumstance arose, I mean, somebody would still have that 200 feet as the presumptive performance standard.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's still there. So if that's the circumstance, you know, we'd say, hey, you haven't presented us with sufficient evidence for us to waive.
Right.
Use that 200 feet.
Well, I
described.
I think you still have some flexibility allowed under section, what is it? 6. The board shall schedule a public hearing after which the application shall be approved with conditions or denied. So you have some flexibility that once this application comes in, you can take that information in and then decide whether or not you think it's appropriate to even issue a permit. even if they meet the criteria, I think you still have the ability to, to have some caution there. You don't think it's appropriate, or it could be a mirror of reasons why that may come up. So right now I have under intersection, the area where two or more streets join or cross public streets, join or cross at grade, or private ways serving more than 10 lots / units. Doesn't read right.
That's the definition. Where do you get that definition from?
Yeah, it was in the, yeah, it was in a DOT, uh,
Yeah. Two or more public streets intersect.
or cross at grade, or private ways serving more than 10 lots / units.
Or where a public way intersects, public way serving, except that intersects with, but it's gonna be intersecting with a public street, though.
Yes. So it'd be, or a private way intersects with public street serving more than 10 lots / units.
Private way serves. Intersects with
For private ways serving 10 or more units which intersect with public ways.
public street, the public street here.
Public street, okay. So we're gonna use intersect twice.
Is 10 too many?
I just threw that out. Just,
Yeah, no,
you know, when it's a street design, the private way is private down the street that serves no more than that.
Yeah.
So you don't need,
Yeah.
that's everything it dovetails.
All right, I think I got it.
Yeah, are those carved out lots for those RVs or just park?
No, he has lots for those RVs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think there's any like overflow, so to speak, of just random. think
I don't know if he has vacant lots to allow people to come in and
They are defined.
Yeah.
Just a.
right. Yeah, they have, each one of the lots has a hookup power. And I don't know if he has sewer there or not for them, maybe just power and water. Yeah, but he doesn't have a hookup at each lot. I think he has water and power at each lot, but as you refer to, they have a dumping station somewhere on the property where the camper could go if they needed to. But he's got model units that are in there too. So they got to have some sort of septic system for those model units. They don't get moved. Technically they still have wheels underneath them and they're seasonal, but yeah, they're model units.
They run an area. That may very well be that that area has a septic system.
Could be.
I know he has an area for motorhomes. He has a big area for taxi campers. And I think he has an area for those.
But in this case, what would trigger this is if he wanted to put a food truck on his side of the road next to his entrance, then there may be some criteria here that we'd have to consider.
Yeah, I know there's a couple occasions at the saloon where he has food trucks in the parking lot.
The what?
At the saloon itself,
Oh,
which is definitely within 200 feet of.
he used to have food trucks there before the stuff was across the street.
Right.
He had a guy from Biddeford that used to park up in the corner there and serve after his kitchen closed.
Yeah. Yeah. When he does the bike week.
Does he bring in food trucks for that?
Yeah. There's a guy who roasts a pig. There's
Yes, it's big roast.
out back, right?
Yeah, I don't remember him bringing in trucks unless he
Well, it's a
had
trailer. It's not a truck. It's like a trailer.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe something we'll have to deal with at some point. I stay away from it like the plague. All right, so are those the only changes that we wanted to make for definitions? I can't think of anything else that we talked about. Now, how about in terms of the performance standards? I mean, we have two suggestions here. In terms of providing some flexibility to an applicant that wants to conduct business within the 200 feet of a street intersection.
Here are safety concerns promoted by the listed performance standards. Here are the performance standards. Where and there are the safety concerns? Just that within 200 feet of an intersection? Is that
right? But then it says the performance standards upon submissions to the board sufficient substantive evidence that the proposed reduction shall not affect safety concerns promoted by the list performance standards. So what I'm saying is that the safety concerns would be, they would have to prove to us through some sort of review, a third-party review, be it the MDOT, because they've received a entrance permit that's provided them approval for that based on their criteria, or they hire themselves a traffic engineer to provide the board sufficient information that what they're trying to do, even though they're within 200 feet, meets safety standards for that function. That's the way I see it.
So like this. Traffic safety, right? We don't want people that are coming from away to an intersection and going right into a food truck area. That's just going to make traffic kind of confusing for folks, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe not. 200 feet is too much. Who said we pulled that out of another ordinance that we.
Yeah, that street vendor ordinance that you had, and I could see why it was there for that purpose, because you definitely didn't want cars or a food truck parked within 200 feet of an intersection when you had all kinds of activity going on, and it was right on the side of the road. It wasn't off the road. That now is happening with these, because they have to be on private property in order to even function. So.
As long as that's evidence that we're asking for is defined for safety concerns that
Well, if they don't meet the 200-foot standard, then they would have to come in with something else to say, I'm at 175. Right. They're good. They'd have to provide us a report of some time.
Eyesight, both directions on State Road and,
And anybody opposed would have the opportunity to come forward and say, not good enough.
Right.
There's opposing evidence, suggesting that, you do have safety concerns. Reduce it to 100 or whatever, what's like the, somebody could say that 190 feet, I mean.
Correct.
Probably not going to have part of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I like Tom's wording.
You don't have to say that just because I'm hearing Dan's not. It's okay.
They gotta teach him, he's not
You
either.
tell me every day.
You would both say about the same thing.
They do, except it says the select board may, upon the request of an applicant, reduce the performance standard upon submissions. I do like that piece in there.
Yeah, bird not being applicant, come forward and say, you know, I want to reduce this down to 125.
Right.
And they say, okay, but why? And can you satisfy the
Correct.
concerns we have about being too close to others?
Yeah.
No, I like that wording.
That one that wants to go in down by the, in the water company, pump station. Obviously, the water company wants to have a state permit for that entrance. Should that be sufficient for food truck to use that same entrance, or should they have to go to the state and get permission to use that?
No, I believe that entrance was there before the water department. It was used by a mill, according to Mr. Burgess. Either his uncle or his grandfather ran a mill there and used that as an entrance. And then it was approved when the water department wanted to use it because they had their substation there. So and they had to meet certain entrance criteria from the state. So it's an approved entrance.
Would that approved entrance be also approved for that food truck that they would allow to sit there?
Oh, good question.
Or would they have to go through another state permitting process?
Well, I believe that right now they're getting a traffic engineered study to determine whether or not that's an appropriate location. I think their issue with us was, or the way the ordinance is written, that there's no flexibility within 200 feet, and that would put their food trucks way, way back in the corner, away from the intersection, and probably not provide much exposure at that point. So I think that's what, and I think they're going ahead and did the study. I know that Mr. Burgess said he spent a ton of money having something done, so. I know that location has brought up this debate, but I think it's a good debate to have in order to provide some sort of changes to the ordinance that I think it's going to come up again at some point in the future here. Anything else that we should look at within the ordinance at this point? If
His family leases that land to the water district for that substation.
I'm not sure. My assumption would be they've got some sort of interest in it. So what I'll do is I'll rewrite this, I'll send it along, and We can discuss it at your next meeting on the, I think it's the 22nd. And maybe have some proposals that we can move forward in terms of changes to the ordinance at the next annual town meeting.
We don't have an ordinance for a food truck court, do we?
Nope.
And that's really what he's proposing.
Well, he's going to have a court. Yeah. Right now it's, I think when you have three or more, it's or up to three, it's a conditional use permit that has to be issued by the planning board. And then well, no, if it's three or less, it's staff review. If it's more than three, it's a conditional use through the planning board.
Right.
I think that's the way. And our staff review did review the one across from Bentley's.
It probably wouldn't hurt. You know, it's coming at some point, you know, and I see it at like Vinegar Hill first. There's going to be 5 food trucks there.
Well, they've only been given approval to have 3 at any one time, and they have 3 locations that have been identified for those to be at. So they can't have any more than that. And tonight you got what, 5 applications in front of you. At no time during these 5 applications are there more than 2 on the spot at any one time. So they're within the standard at this point.
Have one near the front, big door, one over heading towards the parking lot. But a lot of times they only have one there, and that's over by the parking lot.
That's got to be within 200 feet.
They have 3 locations that have been improved. Yeah, let me send it down. I think, I don't know if I have enough for everybody, but I can go make a couple more. Just send that, I'll make a couple more.
Do we have any concern, do we even care about
Oh, there you go.
the truck located for 1 AM? No, I don't care.
Oh.
I'm just,
Yeah, so that food truck parking that's by the small stage.
Yeah.
That has to be within 200 feet of the 4-way intersection. That's that one that,
That ugly little metal thing that's right at the intersection of the
oh, here's
road.
River Road
Yeah.
and then here's Old Post Road. But here's the entrance to Vinegar Hill to get you to the parking lot. So you go in the entrance and turn left. And that stage is like right on the corner of the parking lot. That food truck is,
Right here, they put the one that I have only ever seen there is the one right here, when you go in to go to the parking lot, food truck is right there on the side. So that people coming from 2 directions could get to the food truck. I've never noticed the one parked up here.
Well, Jason, I think you bring up an interesting point. I mean, but it was, you know, I don't know how you deviate from it now, other than to say when you provide approval of an application, that you could say that, I guess you could say that, but it's gone through conditional use permitting too for that location. Though when you looked at their standard, there was no 200 feet
right.
standard that was expressed in there. So when the planning board made these approvals, that wasn't taken into consideration. Now, whether or not, as you provide an application and a permit, whether you say, well, we're not going to allow one at that little intersection there, has to be up in the parking lot or next to the back of the garage. Those look like the two other locations that have been approved for food truck parking.
I mean, I certainly don't want to come off as I don't want food trucks at Vinegar Hill, but if we have to essentially approve applications at almost every meeting for food trucks that are going to Vinegar Hill, I don't want it to come off as we're playing favoritism because we voted on it in the past. You know, what's to say we can't tonight say, well, you can't be within 200 feet of, so we, you know what I mean? Like it's a new application to me. This is.
Right, they're new for this year. They have approval to place food trucks on their property. But I see that that the application, that the ordinance standard is slightly different. So yeah, I think you could probably put a condition on a license that's issued that say that the location on the entrance before you get to the small stage would be prohibited because it doesn't meet the 200-foot standard. I mean, they may come back and argue with you, but right.
I don't know.
I think you measure truck to intersection. I guess it would, but here it's going to be, I don't know what better.
Right.
The intersection's over here.
Well, you can see that bottom number.
Yeah, River Road.
Right.
So, but how do we measure from here to the diagonal?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Where do you stop it? Yeah.
Along travel, what,
Yeah.
I think most of the things going to be on near the roadside. I'm going to be looking one way or another. That's not the circumstance here.
No, even that location of the food truck is actually on the property in their driveway.
So maybe that's verbiage that needs to get added then is, you know, the 200-foot, the 200-foot setback ordinance is by means of travel or something. I don't know what. Because who's to say they couldn't put that, if that's the case, who's to say they couldn't put that food truck right on the corner of the property?
Exactly my point. You don't say that way, but it would better.
yeah,
Now, when we placed the food truck, it wasn't on Jay Brothers' property, but there was a hot dog stand that was on the next piece next to the antique. Now, they were very close to the road, but they were 200 feet from that intersection because we measured it. So essentially from Campground Road in Route 1, we came up 200 feet, and as long as they were beyond that, they were okay.
Yeah, but there's a road directly across the street from it. Not Enterprise, but it's the other one.
Yeah. I know which one you mean. There's not much activity.
No, there isn't,
but yeah.
that's private way, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. And only
Technology? That's not technology. What is the name of that?
No, I can't remember the name of it either.
Commerce, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And there's only one business or two down in there right now. Yeah. Oh,
But then again, maybe that's something to take into consideration too, is we deemed a private way as units, right? If it's a business park, then
Lots.
it is, but what if it's, I mean, like Technology Drive, for instance, there's only one lot down there, but there's 1,000 cars that go down there. No, it's Arundel machine and tool, you know?
That's all it's down there.
Yeah, but it's still, it's one lot, but 1,000 vehicles going in and out of there. Yeah.
But again, I mean, that we're stuck at 200 feet.
Yeah.
So shake on in, ask for a reduction, we say.
Yeah.
You know, traffic is it's there. So.
Yeah.
is that technology drive?
So funny, there's a lot of times coming up to that intersection. I mean, here's the yellow sign, you don't even notice the food truck.
Technology is?
Where the,
To me, that's.
aroma
that's the
machine?
first
Yeah.
place
Yeah,
that
we
I'm
plow it.
Oh, really? Oh, all right. I thought that was a private way.
No,
I mean, I follow
Huh.
here,
pretty sure.
go back, or I'm going to walk over here to the park.
99% sure I saw a town truck going there one summer.
I use it either here or here.
We did.
Matter of fact, I've been here, but it's been a food truck. And I don't think it was there, I think we're closer up here,
Beat up, and you say just measure, but this,
Yeah,
because you have to measure from
this one's gotta get.
here or from here.
But this, you can see this bottom number, so it's 105 feet
Right.
to the entrance, and then I don't know if it's another 100 feet to the truck, or I don't.
I'd say it's probably pretty close to another 100 feet, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's,
Looking at that,
chances are it probably is, but
you scaled it.
I just think we should,
Well, you certainly have made an argument.
if we're gonna go with the measured travel route, then we should document that so that we don't have 10 people coming in here every meeting saying, well, there's a food truck at Vinegar Hill that's less than 200 feet from the intersection. Well, no, it's how you get to the food truck that,
So I'm gonna measure on the sideline of the private way and.
right,
the
that,
Driveway can.
I guess. I mean, it's either that or it's as the crow flies, you know, the shortest means of whatever you want to call it. I guess we got to determine how we want to.
yeah, I don't think measuring across the property from the food truck. I think I want to do it that way.
Yeah.
I think I want to measure along the traveled way.
On the travel, but it's like a drive.
Yeah.
That'd be nice if it's here.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
let me go look. That way.
Are we all set right now? Do we want to make any additional changes? I know we've sort of morphed into another concern. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that.
I was playing Dan's part in this whole thing.
One of the things about the reputation section.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. Boy, that's a hard one to prove.
yes.
Take that right out. How about just, well, I suppose you could be convicted of a crime, crimes come in several different
Sure.
classes.
I would just remove it completely. I don't think the code officer is going to be looking at criteria based around that. We all set for now?
I think so.
Okay.
Want to roll right into the,
We can, sure.
we need a motion for adjournment on the workshop.
Um, yeah, that would be great.
Motion by Velma, second by Tom to end the workshop on food trucks. All those in favor? Workshop session is closed. I will
At
open
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. I will open the regular monthly meeting, April 8th, 2024 Board of Selectmen, and start with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got any additions or subtractions on the agenda?
The only one I have is from Select Board Member DuBois, who provided me an email talking about the RSU. So he had a report that he wanted to share. And I can share it with you.
Anything else? Being none, approval of the agenda. Motion by Velma, second by Phil. All those in favor? All right, we have a standing room only public hearing for food trucks. We have 5 this evening.
Correct. There are 5. They'll all be located at Vinegar Hill, part of their, I guess, their summer series. So these food trucks now, I guess the person in charge of coordinating activities up there has told them to come in and get all their information done, so it's not last minute again, which they have done. So obviously you have a bunch of them here in front of you. All the material that we've requested has been provided. And I think in most cases, these are returning food trucks that have been there in the past.
Yeah. Looks like everybody's provided what we needed. One pending payment says a check is in the mail, so.
Correct. Took it over the. You don't get a check, they don't get a permit.
Yeah. All right, seeing as how we have nobody from the public attending, I'll close the public hearing for the 5 food truck applicants. And I'll move beyond public forum unless somebody from the board has something that's unrelated to the agenda. And go to the minutes of March 25th. Looks good to me. Motion by Tom. Second by Phil. All those in favor? Minutes approved. All right, we have an update from Mr. DuBois.
Yeah, even though he's not here, he provided this to me. Said the labor contract with the Transportation Employees Association has been approved and ratified. There was a first reading of the RSU 21 budget. There was lots of discussion about costs for the HR administration department. Costs have gone up because the previous year was funded by COVID funds. Some felt we didn't really need an HR department. Board's response was that some schools like TAMS and Burke Academy have HR departments, and those departments are using various marketing tools to actively taking students away from RSU 21. Also, our HR department is very active and helpful for pay, new hires, retirements, etc. There was some comments about class size and the need for additional staffing. Dr. Cooper feels that they have a contingency plan if the class size gets too big. Second reading of the budget is April 22nd. District budget meeting will be May 2nd. Acceptance of the 2024-25 school calendar. The school will start after Labor Day. And that was, I think, was an issue that people were referring to at our last meeting, that there was some concerns that they were going to start before Labor Day. And that's the end of the report.
Thank you, Mr. DuBois. Mr. Manager.
Yes, as I reported to you folks in my summary report, the tax assessor will be going out for surgery come June 14th. She's going to be, from what I understand, it's knee replacement surgery. She'll be out for 8 to 12 weeks, she's anticipating. So I've already started some conversations with her with regard to what we're going to do while she's not here. Obviously, we've got assessing needs. Obviously, we'll have pickups and things like that, but my concern is the establishment of the value as of April 1st. That information is very important to us because we need that when we're setting the tax rate. It's something that the assessor and the deputy treasurer work very closely. Once the budget has been approved by an annual town meeting, we provide that information. So they confirm the municipal appropriations, the county appropriations, the school appropriations, and then the values that have been established as a result of the work that the assessor has done from April 1st of last year to April 1st of this year. So that all has to be computed. So that's one of my concerns. I think with her departure, I'm going to be looking to hire a company to come in to provide us some assessing services. There's several companies out there that we can at least chat with and see what kind of costs associated with that. I don't think we're going to need anybody for a 4-day work week, but somebody who may have the expertise to once the building permits have been issued, or the changes, that they can take that information, go out and make pickups on those things, and then put that information into our database to update property record cards on various subject property, as well as when the deeds come in, any transfers, that information gets uploaded into our database, so we have the correct information. So there's a lot of clerical information that needs to be done, and I think that perhaps we can get a company to assist us with that. Prior to doing that, I wanted to have another conversation with the tax assessor to see if she's considering any remote work, if she's considering coming in 1 or 2 days a week, even though she may not be mobile. It's not that she has to be out in the field doing work. She could certainly come in and perhaps sit at her desk for a couple hours a day. I'm not sure if she's receptive to that. I'll have to approach that subject. So I'm trying to put a plan together so we don't go with assessing services while she's out.
Did you research the cost of that?
I have not yet, no. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be something that I'll have to come back to you folks about. I'll look at several companies and see what kind of costs we're looking at and what kind of services they can provide. Some of them may not, they may say, hey, I can come in 1 or 2 days a week or 1 day a week, whatever the case may be. But I've already informed the land use administrator there. I've told Ann that, there'll be some stuff that she'll have to pick up as a result of Beth's departure for a while. So. You know, anybody that's an assessor and wants to have some work, send them our way. Contract planner. Lee J is departing sometime in May. I had another conversation with him today. He is taking a position with the town of Kennebunk as director of community development. So he's not going to be too far away. He said he would help if we had questions on stuff. Again, we'll be reaching out to various companies. Lee J gave me a company here in Maine, as well as I've got a couple of companies that I can reach out to. I do have a meeting with Paul Schumacher, the executive director of the SMPDC, on Wednesday to see if they're going to have personnel on board that can provide us planning services. That will be my first step. If they do, then we'll probably stay with what we have. 1 day a week, comes in on Mondays. He sets schedule for appointments. People can contact the planner via email if they have questions. He's been more receptive to do that. All part of the agreement we've had with them in the past. But there's some real changes and shakeups over there because Lee J's assistant planner has just become the planner in Kennebunk. So they've lost 2 planners. One as a planner to Kennebunk, the other one as a director of community development to Kennebunk. I don't know how many more planners they have on staff up there. They have 20, I don't know how many services they're providing to various communities within York County. So that discussion on Wednesday will be helpful for me to understand where they are in terms of what kind of services they can give us. So it's not a fun time when you have to start trying to fill these spots and make sure that people are, particularly our citizens, are taken care of. So finally, for me, it's just a reminder that we got a budget meeting tomorrow night, 7:00 here. One of the things Dan did do is we've got the conference microphones in. I've got one on the table there. The other one is here. We'll put both those conference microphones out at our meeting tomorrow night and see how well they do in terms of picking up volume from folks that are conversing, because they're like 180. So if I put them back to back, they should be able to give us a 360 ability to have folks' voices picked up. So we'll see how it works.
All right, moving on. We need some action on the 5 food trucks that are presented to us. I don't know if you guys want to do them individually or if you want to lump them all. They're all in the same location, so different dates, obviously, but
Make a motion that we approve all of them, providing that they all go paid for. Do all 5 of them at once. Star and Fire, Frank Elizabeth, their Caribbean flavors, Melanie Smith's ice cream, and
Delicious, yeah.
delicious. We have a motion by Velma to approve all 5 as presented.
One second.
Second by Phil. Any more discussion on these? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the food trucks?
One abstention.
One
Okay.
abstention. All right, we've got just payables tonight. Need a motion for the accounts payable.
So,
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Tom. All those in favor? Anything else? Seeing none, how about an adjournment? Motion by Noah. Second by Phil. All those in favor?
read the sheriff's report. We caught somebody doing 103 miles per hour on Route 1.